Today we're taking a look at three very popular microphones, the Shure SM57, the 58, and the 7b. Now if you're watching this video, you may be having questions around these microphones like, is there really any difference in the sound between them? If so, what are those differences? If you're looking to buy one of them, which one should you buy for your particular application? Do you need to buy more than one of them, or can you get by with just one of them? So, lots of questions. We're going to take a look at all these things and more in this video, and by the end, you should be walking away having all your questions answered. Hey there, how's it going? Welcome back to another Dad Rock and Guitars video. This is where we talk about songwriting, home studio recording, gear, and all that stuff. So if you're into those things, you're in the right place, and make sure you hit that subscribe button right there. Alright, so right off the bat, kind of a heads up, this is a longer, more in-depth video, lots of sound samples and all that stuff, so I went ahead and left timestamps in the description down below. That way if there's a certain section you want to jump to, you can just jump to it, or if you want to bounce back and forth between two recording samples to really kind of dissect the differences in sound and all that stuff, you can do that as well. So again, timestamps are down in the description below. And if you're a mic nerd like me, I left some resources on my website from Shure. There's some blog articles that have answers to common questions about these mics. There's also a video that goes like through the whole history of the 57, 58, and 7B and all that stuff. The guy that does that one, he's worked there at Shure since 1976 and just goes through the whole history there. I found it interesting, so you might too. Link for that is in the description as well. And as always, if you have questions about this video, the microphones, or maybe just songwriting and recording and stuff in general, leave those in the comments down below. I love answering questions. I love helping people. That's what this is really all about, is helping people and having conversations. So make sure you leave those in the comments down below. And also, let me know what your favorite microphone is of these three, or if you have one, why did you choose that one and how did you use it? Love to hear about those things as well. So anyways, here we go. I'm just standing here without my guitar, singing these words into this old microphone. I'm just standing here without my guitar, singing these words into this old microphone. I'm just standing here without my guitar, singing these words into this old microphone. All right, so this is the SM57. Obviously, it is built like a tank, as the other ones are. They're all very, very high build quality and fairly indestructible within reason and all that good stuff. As you can see, I have the pop filter here like I did when I was singing. That's just because this microphone has little to no protection against pops and wind noise and stuff like that, and we'll take a look at that here in a second. But if I was singing in a studio situation, I would recommend having this pop filter for sure. You can probably hear my neighbor's dog, so that's all right. Now if we take this away, just to show you what this is actually doing, it's a pop, 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 pop. You can definitely hear that pop noise and from the wind. So if I get right up on this microphone, you can tell, A, it gets louder, but also you can hear those bass frequencies kick in, and that's called proximity effect. So pretty much any cardioid microphone like this is going to have proximity effect. And the cardioid microphone means basically all the sound is from up here and it rejects sound from back here. But you can hear that all the pops in the wind and all that kind of stuff. I'm having to talk a little differently just because I can hear that so much and it's distracting. So not a great option for this microphone to be speaking into it like this, but this is what it sounds like. Of course, you can fix a lot of that by coming back like this, but it gets quieter, loses low end and all that stuff. And so this is the SM57. Again, great microphone for lots of applications. You just might need a pop filter for singing and vocals, but it can definitely work for those situations. All right, this is the SM58, as you can hear, and it's a great microphone, especially for the price. As you can see, I have my pop filter up here still from when I was singing. This microphone, while it does do better than 57 in general as far as wind noise and pops and all that kind of stuff, if I were recording for an actual song in a studio situation, I would definitely have a pop filter like this. If we remove it, I hear pop, 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 pop. That works pretty well. Pop, 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 pop. And you can hear the pops and stuff like that. So if you've ever used these live, that's a very familiar sound. While it does help, it doesn't get rid of all of it. And also, as far as wind and stuff like that, it gets, all that stuff as well. Again, if you ever use these live outside or whatever and the wind kicks up a little bit, that's a familiar sound. Now, as far as like when I get right up on it, it does a pretty good job of that proximity effect, and it definitely enhances those low end frequencies, and I get a bit of a radio announcer voice kind of thing going on. And as I come back, obviously it changes and sounds different and loses some of that low end and gets quieter, which is pretty normal for a cardioid dynamic microphone. So again, this is the SM58. It is a solid microphone, especially for the price, and can definitely be used for lots of different applications. So there we go. That's the SM58. All right, so this is the SM7b, obviously, and this is just what it sounds like when I'm talking through it. I'm about the same distance as I was on the singing part. When I was singing, I did the pop filter just because I was singing a little breathy, and I was getting a little bit of wind noise, not a ton, but thought it'd be nice to get rid of it just for these testing purposes. But really, this microphone handles wind noise and plosives and pops really well in general, just as is, because it has this wind screen on here. So that's obviously helping to dissipate that air, but also it has that metal mesh, as you can see in this photo, and that's going to probably help dissipate some of that as well. But then also that diaphragm is back here where it's actually picking up the sound, and so that gives some distance for that air to kind of dissipate and all that jazz. At least that is my theory. So if you can tell, as I get up on it like this, you can definitely hear there's a bit of proximity effect going on, and you can hear those bass frequencies getting a little bit louder, and but maybe not as pronounced as some of those other microphones, because I'm really not up on that diaphragm. Again, that diaphragm is like right about here, so there's still a little bit of distance there. Obviously, if I get back here, it's quieter and all that. Also, just for reference, I don't have any of the switches engaged on this, so this is completely flat on the switches on back. So while I started editing this video, I realized that I didn't change any of the switches while I was talking on this microphone, and figured some people might want to hear that. So here it is right now, as you've been hearing it without the switches. Here it is again now with the low frequency roll off. So this has the roll off switch engaged currently right now, so you should be hearing less low end. And now we're back to no switches engaged, just so you have kind of that baseline reference point again. And here it is with that mid presence boost switch engaged, so you should be hearing more mid presence on this microphone now. And now we're back to no switches engaged, just so you have kind of that baseline reference point again. And here it is again. Now both switches are engaged, so this has the low end roll off and that mid presence boost. So it should definitely sound different than the original sound that you were listening to earlier. And so there we go. This is the SM7b, which I think is a really great microphone for recording vocals and other things as well. All right, so now that we've kind of listened to these microphones in certain situations, let's kind of do a quick overview, and I'll just kind of give you some quick thoughts that I have about each microphone to help you decide if you're looking to maybe pick one or more of these up. All three of these microphones have excellent build quality. The metal bodies and all that stuff, and they're just super durable. They're going to last you forever if as long you take reasonable care of them. Some people talk about using these as hammers and stuff. I wouldn't advise that, though I've seen people do some crazy things. But if you take care of it, this thing's going to last you forever. Also, all three microphones, as we kind of showed, they're all good for like general purpose recording. They can record just about anything. They'll sound good. It's just a matter of, some might have certain features or excel at something that another one doesn't quite excel as much at, but that one's better at this other thing. But they can be all really good general purpose microphones. So if you only have one, you can do great recordings with any of them, really. Also, they all basically have the same capsule inside of them. The capsule is the part that actually where the sound hits and it gets changed to electricity and all that jazz. The 57 and the 58 have the exact same capsule. It's a Unidyne 3 capsule. It's exactly the same. The 7B is actually a slightly tweaked and modified version of that, but it's really close to the same thing. It's based off the same thing. It's really close. So they all have basically the same capsule or exactly the same capsule. So the difference in sound and stuff, a lot of it comes from the size, the shape of the body, and just some other things like that. All three of these are made to handle very loud sounds, very high SPLs, so loud guitar cabs, super loud vocals, trumpets, whatever, they can definitely handle it. Also, all three microphones are budget friendly, right? I mean, these two right here, brand new, are $99 all the time. Occasionally they go on sale for like $85. I got this 58 for $85 not too long ago, brand new. And then we have the 7B. It's $399. This is definitely more expensive, right? But we're not talking Neumann U87 prices here, like $3,600 or anything like that. I actually bought this one used, again, because they're so durable. it's not a big deal to buy them used. Got this off of reverb.com for $325, and it was mint condition, came with a sticker and in the box and everything. So you can find deals out there too if you want, but super budget friendly. All right, so let's talk about the SM57 specifically. As far as listening to it, everything I heard, and I think this is a generally accepted characterization of this microphone, is that it kind of has an aggressive mid-range. There's kind of this upper mid, aggressive mid-range thing going on, which is great for electric guitars and snares and stuff like that. Really helps those kind of just sit in the right place in the mix. So great for those things. Also, because it doesn't have any kind of grill really on it or anything, you can get it right up on a guitar amp and take advantage of that proximity effect if that's what you want to kind of beef up the tone. Of course, you can pull it off. You don't have to, but it gets right up on there. Also, this is a standard, as I kind of mentioned, for snare drums and stuff. It sounds good because of that mid-range, but also it's pretty small and it's kind of easy to sneak in where you want to, and it stays out of the way of the drummer, so they're great for snare drums for that reason. But as we saw earlier, if you're going to use this for vocals, you're definitely going to want a pop filter in front of it to keep those pops, those P's, those B's, wind noise and stuff like that down. Can definitely work for recording vocals. You're just going to want a pop filter. So in general speaking, if you're mostly recording guitars, electric guitars and things like that, and not really recording vocals, then I would definitely get this microphone. It just works for a lot of things. It's great. But if you're going to be doing a lot of vocal work too, this may not be the first choice, at least in my opinion. All right, so let's talk about the 58 for a minute here. As far as the sound that I heard in the recordings, it didn't have quite the aggressive mid-range that the 57 does. It's got a little bit different character to it, but it sounded fairly similar, just not quite as aggressive in that mid-range. One nice thing about this is if you're going to use this for guitar cabs and recording and stuff, like I showed in the video, you can just spin this guy off right here, and you can use it a lot like a 57 and get up there and take advantage of that proximity effect if you want. But again, if you're going to be using it for vocals and other things, you can just put this back on and you're good to go. And for snare drums, again, if you take this off, you can sneak this in there just like a 57 and it will work just fine for that. Stay out of the way, easy to maneuver and all that stuff, just like a 57. If you're going to be recording vocals, again, this does help some, but I would be using a pop filter in front of it to catch those P's and B's and all that stuff. But the nice thing about this mic is if you want to have your own live mic for vocals, like if you go out and sing and all that stuff in a band, you want to take your own mic, this can double as your live mic that you can take with you as well. So again, another great all-around microphone. If I was going to only have one microphone of these three and I was on a tight budget, I would use this one over the 57. If I'm doing vocals and guitars and whatever else, all kind of trumpet or who knows, all kinds of other stuff. If you can only have one and you're on a budget and you're recording lots of different things, I'd go with the 58. All right, last and certainly not least is the SM7b. As far as the sound of the recordings, I think this one was definitely smoother. You could really hear it in the vocals. I could even hear it on the electric guitar. It's definitely smoother. On the snare, it seemed more subdued to me. Didn't quite have the same crack or high end on it. So I think this is a much smoother microphone. One kind of downside of it is for recording guitars, you can't get right up on there, right? Like the other ones, you can see this is the capsule right here. There's definitely a bit of a space there. So you can't get that proximity effect like you can with the other ones. However, because of the shape of this, it does have some additional low end compared to any other ones anyways, so that may not be such a big deal for you. Also, this can be kind of hard to position for a snare drum, right? It's heavy, definitely heavier than the other ones. It's bulkier, bigger, it's got this special mount and stuff, so miking up a snare is more difficult. Not impossible by any means, but definitely more difficult. It can be more in the way and stuff like that. So this would not be my first choice for miking a snare, aside from the sound as well. But this is great for recording vocals, right? That's what it's designed for, is for vocals. It's a broadcast microphone basically, and so it sounds excellent on vocals for me. It's one of my favorite vocal mics. especially for rock voices and raspy voices and all that stuff. Sometimes a condenser microphone can be too harsh, and this kind of smooths that out without dulling it too much. And of course, another great feature on here, we have these switches on the back for the mid boost and the low end roll off. I honestly don't use those a lot, but they certainly are handy in certain situations to have. It's just a nice feature to have. And one other thing to kind of consider with this microphone is that it is known to have a very low signal output compared to other microphones. And so you might need something like a cloud lifter. There are other ones as well, but basically it's a box that you plug the microphone into when it's going to your interface, and it makes the signal out of this stronger, because as is for some interfaces, when you plug this into your recording interface and you turn up that preamp, you're going to have to turn it up pretty high, and you might start introducing some noise into your signal chain. My interface is pretty good about not doing that, so I haven't bought a cloud lifter or anything like that yet, but I've definitely considered doing it just to make things easier. So that's something you might want to consider regarding this microphone. But in general, it is an excellent vocal microphone. For recording vocals, it's excellent. It can do other things as well. Some people like this on a hi-hat. Some people like this on acoustic guitars and other things like that. So it can definitely do other things perfectly fine, and other people really like it, but it definitely excels at the vocal thing. So in my opinion, if you're recording mostly vocals and stuff like that in your studio, I would go with this one if you have the budget for it. And even better yet, if you have the budget to get one of the other microphones, I would get this one for doing vocals. I get that 57 for doing guitar cabs and snares or whatever other instruments as well. And then you kind of have everything covered right there, just between this and the 57. All right, so that pretty much wraps everything up. If you made it this far, congratulations. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, give me a thumbs up on this and let me know. Also, if you have questions, let me know in the comments down below. Again, I love helping people and answering questions and having conversations. That's what this is all about. And also, in the comments, let me know which of these 3 microphones was your favorite. And if you don't have one, which one would you get? And if you do have one, which one do you have and how do you use it? Make sure you check me out on Instagram. Give me a follow there, Dad Rock and Guitars. Also my website, dadrockandguitars.com. All kinds of cool stuff over there. And that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you again so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.